talk about inflation. I think a lot of people overlook how inflation actually works and the reality of things. I think this is what I think with the modern monetary theory deniers, the people say it's going to lead to inherent inflation. I don't know that to be true. I don't make that as I think it could be true, don't get me wrong, but I'm not so sure. I don't think you can just say it's going to lead to inflation. As you look at Japan, there isn't any. I don't get it. So anyway, let's go back to more reality. And look, I'm not advocating for MMT, trust me. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I think we got to do a better job, those of us on the right, to argue against big government spending than just say, well, deflation, it's inflationary. Because I tell you, man, we've heard that a million times a Sunday with the old silly things like the Phillips curve and whatnot, which says if we have low employment or low unemployment, I should say, it's inherently deflationary, which will lead to higher interest rates. Simply not true. All right, so I was talking to a lady, and she was a pretty big wig at a firm, kind of responsible for corporate productivity. She went to one of their units, and there's 200 people doing repetitive work. And one of the bosses says, man, this is, that's just not productive. And long story short, they were able to get AI to eliminate 180 of those jobs. I know that sounds bad. Oh my goodness, you eliminated 180 jobs. But now we have 20 people doing what 200 used to do before. All right, so what does that mean? That's huge advances in productivity. Those 20 people, all right, were doing the work of 200. That is huge productivity. Do you see that in the price of goods? Well, you do ultimately, depends on what the good they're producing is. But you actually see the price of food and all that? No, not necessarily, but it's certainly a deflationary thing. But Josh, what does other 180 people do? Well, hopefully they're doing what I'm doing, taking your dog for a walk on a beautiful freaking Tuesday afternoon at 2:30, being self-employed. Hopefully they found other work they do that will use their skill set better, other than just doing repetitive tasks. This is what's called creative destruction, all right, which is Joseph Schumpeter used to say, which is 100% the benefit, the glory, and the scourge of capitalism. We're going to create things that's going to destroy the incumbents, but it's going to do wonderful for the folks that are willing to deal with the change. As AI mounts and mounts and mounts, there's going to be more productivity gains, which is going to be inherently deflationary. There's no two ways around that. We can argue as corporate globalism all we want. The facts are globalism, whether or not it's here to stay. I'm not going to say it's here to stay. You can't do anything. I don't know that. But the facts are globalism has reduced inflation simply because of the cost, the cheaper labor, cheaper goods, more mining, more materials being shipped throughout the world. That's all deflationary as well. Government spending has not, so you think about it, has the government spending over the last 25 years, we'll just use that for example, has it gone down or gone up? Well, of course it's gone up, way, way up. Has inflation worldwide gone down or gone up? It's gone down, way, way down. Where did inflation go up? It went up in the socialist countries, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, you see what I'm saying? All these various places, war-torn countries, always goes up in these places, but does not go up in places that are productive, for sure. It just doesn't. Turkey has high inflation, socialistic. You see what I'm saying? So when we say inflation has to come because of the government printing press, it does have to come if they literally said, here's $1 million, Josh, go spend. So, this taking Pablo for a walk with that right there, that leash would cost a hell of a lot more than it does now. That's inflation. Why is all that poop on the ground? Must be a deer. Anyway, but that's not happening. That's not how the government, they don't just say here. I mean, they kind of do when they do the stupid stimulus, but they're not going to just suddenly drop $100,000 into your checking account for you to spend. It always goes to the rent seekers first, the lobbyists. They get the money first, and then they transfer it. Velocity of money will find its way to you, and that's how it works. But so that's not inherently a huge inflationary thing, even though it could be. But at the end of the day, that hasn't happened. And it's not necessarily going to happen because we have these huge productivity gains just across the board. Just labor-saving things to make people more productive, which they can create more product with less inputs. More outputs from less inputs is deflationary. That's all there is to it. Because the price of those goods, because there's more of them, with less inputs, are deflationary. The government can spend. That does not mean there's going to be hyperinflation. People miss this. It's weird. It's weird. And do you think AI is... If you think AI is not coming more and more, I hate to say it, you're wrong. Look at that tree. That is weird. Which is which some people say is doomsday scenario. Other people like me say, no, it's wonderful. AI is a wonderful thing to some degree because it means we don't have to be subject to the crappy old jobs repetitive. We can use our freaking God-given skills, our talents to do what we want to do. I'm telling you. If you wonder if I've ever been an advocate for UBI, the answer is kind of. An advocate for a national health care, not a nationalist health insurance system, but a nationalistic health plan, a voucher plan, where they say, hey, look, you can do whatever you want. We're going to fund it. You can pick any doc you want. You know what I'm saying? You got this. There's no HMO. There's no government mandates other than some basic stuff. A national Medicare Advantage. With a small UBI, man, just think of all the things you could do. This is the arguments that I've always felt the left should be making, as opposed to we got to tax the rich till there are no rich no more, like the guy from that one band, the Guess Who, tax the rich, feed the poor till there are no rich no more. He doesn't say tax the rich, feed the poor till there are no poor no more. See what I'm saying? So he's okay if everyone's poor, just as long as there's no rich, which is stupid. That's Socialistic 101. Anyway, so I am not at all convinced that inflation is coming or needs to come. And if it doesn't come, because as AIA continues on, what does that mean for your investments? Well, can you see the bond yields ever going up? I don't. Mortgage interest rates ever going up? I don't. Stocks going up though? Yes. Why? Because of productivity. Earnings. Now remember, stocks are publicly traded entities. There are tons of privately traded entities for which you can't buy into. You can't. Price of real estate goes up. Why? It will go up for sure. Simply because of the supply and demand. We still have more demand than supply by far, plus less and less supply with more and more regulations. That will only increase the price of real estate. So if I was a betting man, I would predict that stocks still have a long way yet to go. Obviously, lots of small pain points with the stocks, as they always do. Real estate has still positive scenarios for it. Bonds don't, just because I don't expect any inflation at all. And the more I think about this, the more I'm convinced inflation is not the enemy at all. It's not going to be the monster. And you better be prepared, because this is it's new. We don't know what to do with it. Government spends with no inflation? What? That's what we're dealing with. All right, we'll see you.